Hola, my friend. I'm Melissa V. Cartwright, and welcome to the Passionate Performer Podcast. You have a voice that deserves to be heard, and you also deserve to have a performance career where you don't feel like you're sacrificing who you are to meet the demands of the industry. I'm a Latin singer-songwriter, actress, and voice coach with 25 years of experience, and so I get it. I understand the grind, the joys, the ups and downs, and everything in between. We cannot keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. So we are here to help you problem solve those challenges, figure out why we're feeling the way we do, and give you the next right step. We are not here to mess around. We are ready to take action. Let's go. Why can't I sing louder? I know this is probably one of the biggest things on your wish list as a singer, especially if you do decide to start taking voice lessons or you join a singing membership or a course. It's one of the things that you are wanting to work on. Maybe your voice sounds a little shaky or breathy and you're just not wanting it to sound that way. You're listening to some of your favorite artists on your playlist and you're hearing this solid, thick sound that they're creating with their voice, and you want to do the same, don't you? I want to propose a couple of things that we can try so that you can increase volume without overextending your voice. Yeah, so we've already identified the problem. Something in your voice sounds shaky, breathy, what you perceive does not have a lot of power to it, and you're just wanting to increase that or be able to project your voice in a way that you can watch back that video or you can finish a song and feel like, oh yeah, I'm really proud of that. So I hear ya. Let's talk about it. Why are we feeling this way? Could be a couple of issues. Could be a breath support issue. And I'm not going to say what you think I'm going to say. Now, yes, does oxygen, does breath somewhat power our voice? Of course. The reason we can make sound is because airflow is passing over our vocal folds. We have these two rubber band-like muscles inside our larynx that vibrate together when air passes through. So obvi, right? If I was to hold my breath right now, of course I can't make any sound, right? We do need breath. We need air to make sound. But hear me, in order to create the volume that you're wanting to create, and I'm speaking to you specifically if you are a fan of contemporary styles like pop, Broadway, rock, jazz. When I speak of increased volume or perceived power, we're probably talking about technical singing terms like mixing, belting. So even in the voice teaching singing world, there's still a lot of mystery about how to define this. The easiest way that I can break it down to you is mixing is simply when you do not hear the break or the passaggio in your voice. It's one connected sound. And it is free of tension or strain in the sound and obviously in the way that you feel. Belting is basically an amplification of that. One of the easiest definitions I ever heard was Justin Stoney of NeuroVocal coaching, describing belting as the strength of your chest voice when you sing lower notes with the range of your head voice, those higher notes. So that's the easiest way that I can break it down for you. But all of that is under the umbrella of amplifying sound. And so I come back to breath support because it is not necessarily increased airflow. In fact, I want to show you a little experiment, a straw with water. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll try to walk you through it. So basically what you would want to do, just like you see here in this clear container, is just blow bubbles like you used to do as a kid when you would blow bubbles in a glass of milk. All right, I'm going to do what we call a vocal slide. And I want you to see what happens to the bubbles, and I'll try to hold it close to the microphone too, as I go up in pitch. If you were able to see that on the video, I was trying to keep my eyes on the glass. You saw that the bubbles started roaring the higher I went in pitch, and then they calmed down when I went lower. Now, my mission is to actually keep the bubbles roaring or bubbling at the same rate, no matter how high or how low I go, like this. you could probably hear that the rate of the sound was pretty much the same, or the intensity thereof. If you're watching this on YouTube, you saw that they stayed pretty steady, didn't it? It's like a little vocal science experiment. So what you're wanting to do is actually have the least amount of airflow over your vocal folds, okay? And so we call that a threshold of airflow for like really super nerdy voice technical terms. But basically, what you're doing is that the vocal folds have the least amount of air possible to create a sound that's stable. So when we have amplification in the voice, what's happening is that thick, solid sound is where the vocal folds are pretty much staying as close together as possible, vibrating. If you want to look up a stroboscopy of a singer, you can see how much space is between those vocal folds when they sing higher, breathier versus when they sing lower and they amplify. Imagine you trying to hang on to, let's say, a tree in the middle of a storm, and you have all of this gust of wind blowing at you, and you are doing everything you can to hang on to that tree. That's the image I want to plant in your brain when you take a big ass breath right before you try to sing a powerful note. Your vocal folds are doing everything they can to shake and stay together and vibrate together. And what happens is we cause unnecessary strain, or you're still struggling to produce a sound that isn't quite solid or thick, right? There's still tones of breathiness in there that you're not trying to do on purpose. We can talk about breath as a stylization tool, just like some of your favorite singers do. Billie Eilish does it all the time. Olivia Rodrigo does it all the time. People do it all the time. But if you're not wanting that, if you're wanting more of a solid sound, you cannot take a big old breath before that. When you try this on your own or with your voice coach, it's going to mess with your brain a little bit, because we've been so obsessed with breath support, breath control, breath support, breath control. I'm not knocking it. I just said we need breath, but I believe wholeheartedly that our obsession with that is actually getting in the way, because we think if I don't take a big breath before I sing, then I'm not going to have the power to sing with the volume that I need. Actually, we need a little less. So here's something that you can do right away. Try through the nose inhalations instead of, unless you're singing a very fast lyric and you need air intake to finish the phrase, try nose inhalations. Our nose loves that. Our voice loves that because it actually warms the air that's passing over your voice before you actually sing that big note. Okay, so that's one easy adjustment that you can try this week. Let me know how it goes. So don't make such a big deal about breath support. In fact, you need less air. And trying that experiment with a straw with water, we call that straw phonation, is a great way to train your voice to do that. Okay. I rushed ahead in my notes and explained that you're probably trying to push too hard. You saw that with the bubbles and you heard that with the bubbles. This is where we start feeling a little gnarly in our neck and our shoulders, maybe even in our abdomen. Because we are constricting our entire body thinking, I gotta push to sing that note. In fact, the singers that I work with know that the word push is a no-no word. We try to eradicate it from our singing vocabulary because what we're trying to do is sing with more ease. This doesn't mean that you're not going to feel anything in your body. In fact, it means there will be some form of engagement, right? Like just try singing a single note on one note. The longer I hold that, I'm going to naturally feel my belly just deflate a little bit or contract just because I am holding out a note. And the diaphragm is going to do what the diaphragm does and just go back in its place. P.S. Can I just insert this? We're finding that the term sing from the diaphragm is actually word usage that's super confusing. You can't make your diaphragm do a single thing. It's an involuntary muscle. So when you take an inhalation, It's just naturally going to lower because that's what it was created to do, designed to do. And when you exhale, it just goes back in place and all your guts in your belly just go back in place. So in terms of diaphragmatic breathing, there we go. You don't need to manipulate anything. In fact, here's what I'd like to propose with more natural breaths, less pushing. The sounds that we make to amplify volume are based on very primal sounds. Calling out to your kid who needs to come do the dishes that you've asked them to do for the 5th time. Hey, the dishes need to be done. In that moment, I didn't sit here and pause and think, oh, I need to breathe through my nose. I need to, and then, hey, no, I just did it. I amplified my voice without overstraining it. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any tension. I just did it. When you're exercising your voice in a way to mix, belt, amplify sound, a lot of times we are using those calling out types of sounds like, hey, come here, hey, and then just sustain that pitch. Hey, hey, depending on how you want to stylize. That was a very Broadway version of that note. But if I wanted to popify it or R&B it, hey, I'm just probably going to scoop into it, take some of that vibrato out. Again, that's a style tool that we use. Conversation for another day. But if your mission is just to pump up the volume with less strain in your voice, think of a little less air, and you're not going to push anything. You're just going to simply call out. Hey, Hey, is one of the easiest ways to practice this. Hey, you! Okay? Just like you would call out a friend, call out your neighbor, call out the kid, right? Easy primal sounds that you make every single day. When you try these primal sounds, we talked a little bit about this in the last episode 59 about resonant singing, which is just a fancy way of saying how you feel sound. So the next time you try that, hey, just put your hand on your chest for a second. Hey, you may feel a sense of vibration in the chest. If you give me a smile when you do that, hey, if you've been trying those resonant hums we talked about, right, where you feel like a vibration sensation and you're working with a coach that helps you to open up the sound, all of a sudden some people describe feeling those vibrations like in their nasal cavity. Sometimes I feel it like right behind my teeth, depending on the vowel that I'm making. So that's a baseline for a lot of resonant singing or the way we feel. And again, the reason I bring this up is because this is going to protect you from over singing. It's going to protect you from the push. It's going to protect you when something happens with the sound system and it cuts out and all of a sudden you're like, I can't hear myself the way that I want to, even though I'm using this microphone, but I know how that note feels when I've got it in the sweet spot, right? When I've got it right there, amplified the way that I want to amplify it, whether I'm mixing it, whether I'm belting it, and it feels free. It feels like I don't have any strain. That takes time to develop, so give yourself lots of patience. Even if you're at the beginning of this journey with trying to amplify your sound in a way that feels natural, give yourself lots of patience because it takes time to really tune in and feel that and make that distinction. In fact, when I'm doing resonant exercises with my singers and when I'm practicing them myself, I have to remind myself, and this is a phrase coined by Meredith Colby. You should check out her resources. She's a beautiful teacher. It's a brain exercise, more so than a vocal exercise, because you're learning how to feel the sound and tune inward. And the more body intuition you can develop as a singer, the longer you're going to sing. You're going to have a vibrant vocal career. No matter what changes and fluctuations happen in your voice, just from naturally aging, you're going to know exactly what things are supposed to feel and sound like. And that makes you a confident singer. When you finish listening to this and you try these sounds, I want to make sure you actually have a space where you can practice these sounds. I'm so surprised by singers who maybe live in smaller apartments or they have neighbors nearby or whatever and don't have a place to practice this. Make sure you find a space whether you have a buddy who does have a place where you can sing a little louder and practice some of these noises. There's also devices that you can order. There's something called the belt box that you can order that actually you just put it on your face and it muffles the sound and you can try all sorts of noises, right? But make sure that you have a space you feel comfortable in where you can try this, because you can sit here and listen to all this information, but if you don't actually try it and you don't try it with regularity, it's not going to happen. We're about taking action. So make sure you have a space where you can get loud and silly and experiment with all of these noises. And I want to leave you with one final thought, my friend. We've talked about the word power a lot when we're referencing amplification of our voice, trying to create volume or trying to create those thicker sounds. But I want to leave you with this. Does powerful singing always mean louder? Stronger? Because let me tell you something. I've been moved by many a singer to tears, watching them, listening to the way that they interpret a certain lyric. And in that moment, they were not loud. They might have actually been pretty darn quiet. But there was something about the way that they communicated that moved me to the core. So our mission today was to help you increase volume. But I don't want you to always equate powerful, emotional singing with volume. In fact, it's just one tool in your toolkit so that you can turn up the volume when needed. You can turn it down. You can control and experiment and play with all the sounds that you are capable of making in your body the way you were designed to do and connecting with your audience. Yeah. So I'm just going to leave you with that. Maybe a little something to just simmer on as you finish listening to this episode, and check out all the resources we have inside the Passionate Performer program. We have a whole module on resonant singing, how to feel the sound. We have a mixing moxie vocal workout. So if you are a YouTube fitness geek, meaning that's how you work out at home, it's designed just like a vocal workout to help you do this. Build strength, build volume, increase the range of your powerful singing so that it feels flexible and free every single time that you do it. My friend, you know where to find me. Send me a message on Instagram. Make sure you leave a comment or a rating below. That helps us connect with more beautiful singers like you. I am so thankful that you hit play and joined me for this. And as always, canta con amor, sing with all the love in your heart, show up as your beautiful, authentic self. Y nos vemos. I'll see you in the next episode.